This is so exciting, very exciting program. This is where Israel is celebrating their 50 years of the unification of Jerusalem, the 1967 war. You got to check it out. Well, we're excited about talking about what's taking place in the White House with celebrating Israel's Independence Day, but also with Israel. In Israel, they're getting ready for the 50th anniversary of the Six-Day War, the unification of Israel. And
reunification of Jerusalem.
Reunification of Jerusalem. And a lot of people don't know about the Six-Day War, what really took place in 1967. And so we have, Prager University, where Dennis Prager does a real good job of just quickly explaining it. So this is what they're celebrating. They're celebrating that, originally when Israel became a nation, they didn't have Jerusalem in there, because that's what the United Nations was drawing out and that type of thing. But
Balfour Declaration.
In 1967, they came in trying to war against Israel, so they had to take it. As a matter of fact, they took a lot of things and they gave it back. They took Jordan, they took the West Bank, they took Egypt, the northern parts, what has the oil in it, they took that. And then they just said, okay, they cut a peace deal with Egypt that allowed them to get their land back. And Israel is just an amazing,
giving, blessed
nation. So this is why we got to have Jerusalem, because it's undefensible borders if you go back to 1967 borderlines. But let's take a look. What happened in 1967, Prager University, Dennis Prager.
In 1967, the dictator of Egypt, Gamal Abdel Nasser, announced his plan, in his words, to destroy Israel. He placed Egyptian troops on Israel's border, and armies of surrounding Arab countries were also mobilized to attack. However, Israel preemptively attacked Egypt and Syria. Israel did not attack Jordan and begged Jordan's king not to join the war. But he did. And only because of that did Israel take control of Jordanian land, specifically the West Bank of the Jordan River. Shortly after the war, the Arab states went to Khartoum, Sudan, and announced their famous 3 no's: no recognition, no peace, and no negotiations. What was Israel supposed to do?
So that's why Jerusalem is part of Israel today. Jordan was part of Israel. Yeah. Egypt was part of Israel. And really the true lines of Israel's borders, you can read them in the Old Testament. It shows you where they're much bigger than what it is right now.
It's more than what it is now, sure.
A coming land grab is actually coming soon, I believe, prophetically. And Pastor John Kilpatrick talked about that with Church of His Presence. But wouldn't it be cool, John, to be able to go back and just kind of be a fly on the wall or a fly on the mound, the Temple Mount, just to see what was going on during the time that they took Jerusalem?
Yeah. Well, think about it. They didn't have Jerusalem. The Temple Mount was there.
Right.
It's today, the Jews go there all the time. They don't go to the Temple Mount, but it's the Wailing Wall. And so they had a longing always to be there. And so, imagine all these years they're not able to go.
In the process of defending themselves, having to have preemptive strikes on their enemy who's about to try to push them in the sea, they ended up with Jerusalem. But guess what? We have some footage to be able to take you there to what it was like when they got Jerusalem back in 1967. Just a little bit of footage. Take a look. This is so exciting. It's like being a fly on the wall. You got to see what it took place. And remember, just like Dennis Prager said, that wasn't their intentions. They didn't want to go to war, but they had to be able to defend themselves because they were trying over and over again, the enemies of Israel say, we want to destroy you and push you into the sea. And so in the byproduct of that, prophecy was fulfilled and Jerusalem came back and never again will she be trodden upon.
Wow.
That's the prophecy. Yeah. Once she's back in the hands of Israel or the Jews, that she won't leave again. Yeah. So all this huff and puff and things that are going on about trying to take Jerusalem. Isn't it interesting? How many square inches are there on the globe of the earth?
Square inches. Yeah.
Just checking to see if you were listening.
Yeah.
But imagine you got all this land on the earth, and you can have anything. But why do you want Jerusalem?
Why? Yeah. Why Israel? Why Jerusalem?
You know, it's like two siblings fighting each other, and it's like, why do you want the toy that's in his hand?
Yeah.
Because that's God's property.
Special city.
Yeah.
I mean, special city.
But it's
the
God's.
city of David belongs to the Lord.
Yes.
And still today, 3 religions, claim home, Jerusalem as a home. You have, of course, the Jews, Islam, and Christianity.
Right.
But it belongs to the Jews. It belongs to
Islam
Israel.
didn't call it their claim until Barak.
Yeah, till later.
The donkey that rode Barak. The donkey was called Barak. That carried Muhammad, and he landed a flying donkey. Right? Is this right? Landed on the Temple Mount there, the area, and that's why they began to do that. Al-Asamas or something like that. You can verify that on the torch, but the horse or the donkey was called Barak. Well, they're celebrating. They're celebrating right now in Israel the festival for the 50th year, and they're getting ready for it. As a matter of fact, let's take a look now.
Shalom from Jerusalem. This year, we celebrate the return of the Jewish people to their eternal capital. I'm honored to send my best wishes to the Israeli-American Council as we celebrate the 50th anniversary of the reunification of Jerusalem. Since reuniting Jerusalem 50 years ago, Israel has celebrated the rich diversity of our city. We have maintained freedom of religion, movement, and expression for all of our city's residents. These values are the core of Israel's democracy. They are values that are the basis of our enduring bond with our strongest ally, the United States. As Mayor of Jerusalem, I'm committed to upholding the promise of our city as a center of openness and unity for all people. Thank you for joining the Israeli-American Council to celebrate the reunification of Jerusalem on this historic anniversary. Let me conclude with the blessing that we all meet next year here in Jerusalem.
What's so interesting about this is a big celebration that you have Israel's independence, and you have the unification, and it's like May is this
special month,
spiritual month. May Day, and that there's something taking place all over the world right now in May. And I encourage you to be alert, because anytime good things begin to happen, people in strongholds who wanted bad things and thought they had a bad thing figured out, they get upset. But that's what happens when God starts to deliver a nation and deliver a people. And so, you don't pay attention to that. But this is an exciting day. So you have the unification, that the reason why Jerusalem is in Israel now, and it always was, but men weren't allowing that to happen, so they got it back in the Six-Day War in 1967. Well, it's because they had to defend themselves. The UN, UNESCO, the initials are, but part of the UN, just voted against Israel having sovereignty over Jerusalem.
Shocker.
Yes.
Yeah.
But what's so interesting, we're going to talk more about it in a moment, or we have already, but again, is that our President Trump, is still going to move our embassy, it looks like, from Tel Aviv to the capital, Jerusalem, which makes it real for the whole world once we move our whole embassy to Jerusalem.
Which reminds me of what Brother John Kirkpatrick said, Pastor John Kirkpatrick of Church of His Presence. He said that when President Trump does that officially,
that's the reason why he got in.
He'll be lifting the cap off financial blessing off of America.
As a matter of fact, when we get back from this break, we're going to show you exactly what the Lord said, revealed prophetically to Pastor John Kilpatrick, about why he put President Trump in. It has to do with Israel, it has to do with generals, and it has to do with keeping Israel in their land. Make sure you join us after the break. Talking about the 50th anniversary of the unification of Israel, also the independence celebration, Independence Day in Jerusalem, and our president is going to be there. President Trump's going to be there May the 22nd
through the 23rd on Jerusalem Day, where they're celebrating the reunification of Jerusalem.
Of all the days. It would be a perfect way to celebrate Jerusalem Day than to say, let's move the United States.
Are you for it? I'm for it.
I am so for it. I am so for it. And I mean, the stage is being set.
Yeah.
You know, God wanted Jerusalem to be in Israel's possession. Israel was wanted to be left alone. But it's not Israel's decision what God wants to do. It's not our decision what God wants to do. And so all of a sudden this war came in, and that war enabled them to have Jerusalem. And so God's working out his will. The prophecy, the things that God has done, and he loves Israel, and he's going to save Israel, and he's going to protect Israel. But, you know, think how strategic this is, John. Our president's going to Jerusalem, going to Israel in a couple of days, and he's going to be there on Jerusalem Day. And he's talked about in his campaign, and vice presidents, we just heard, Vice President Pence talked about, it's possibly going to happen. Of course, he didn't want to spill his press, I'm sure.
He's giving serious concern with his exact words.
But listen to what God said. This is what God said to Pastor John Kilpatrick, a Church of His Presence, the exact reason why he was going to put Donald Trump in office. Take a look.
I was riding along the highway last Thursday evening. I was engaged in a conversation by cell phone with my administrator regarding budget matters. As I was listening to her answer a question, I heard Holy Spirit interrupt me and said, "How do you spell Truman?" I thought for a moment, and I said, T-R-U-M-A-N. He then said, "How do you spell Trump?" And I said, T-R-U-M-P. I immediately made the connection. He proceeded to ask me, who did President Truman lean on to help get the Jews back in the Holy Land? I said, General Eisenhower. The Lord said to me, I have raised up Trump, and I am also giving him generals to help defend my people, the Jews, to keep them in their homeland. What was will be again. He then asked me, how do you spell truth? I said, T-R-U-T-H. The Lord said he's changing the appetites of people. Instead of the public now rejoicing in rumors, they will now become excited to hear the truth again. They will develop a love for the truth and reject the lies as well as the liars. This will not be true of everyone in every place, but a shift has already happened. Truth had fallen in the streets, but I tell you, I'm lifting it up again, and it shall cause great rejoicing. I, the Lord, have done this by my own power, by my right arm of might, and by my justice. Give God praise. Hallelujah.
That's so powerful. Understand that God is just shifting in the earth right now. You're seeing things move. You're seeing things that were just kind of left there and were unjust, and they were doing things they shouldn't be doing, persecuting people they shouldn't be persecuting, period, and persecuting Christians and Jews. And North Korea is the greatest persecutor of Christians in the world. And just things are shifting right now. Well, one of the epicenters of the shift, of course, is Israel. Ever how goes Israel, so goes the nations, and so goes the church. And so we're seeing them move into a jubilee. We're seeing them shift. I mean, they weren't trying to get Jerusalem in 67, they were trying to get safe. But in the turn, God says, I want you to have all this land.
Just like God, isn't it?
Yes, just like God. And just because UNESCO, the United Nations little group, just voted against Israel having sovereignty over their own piece of property, America's already voted. Our Congress has already made a law. We have it established that we acknowledge Jerusalem as the capital of Israel.
Yes.
Not the capital of Palestine.
Even the Democratic Party actually made it part of their platform. You know, so I mean, it's a known thing.
Right, and so it's a law. It's in our law. Well, every year, a president had to sign a waiver to kind of bump it down the road. But it's the fact that President Trump. This is the interesting thing that I see in President Trump's presidency so far. He's just enforcing the laws that have been on the books all along.
Yes, and doing what he said he's going to do.
But do you think about it? It's the Homeland Security man, whoever he is right now, I can't think of his name. But
General Kelly.
General Kelly saying specifically that I'm just enforcing the laws. These are laws that have been on the books. If you want to change this, change the laws. And so we had all these laws on the books that we weren't enforcing. And that's why we're having so many issues. And there's laws about Israel on the books that says specifically that Jerusalem is the capital of Israel and that our embassy is supposed to be in Jerusalem. Which means the only thing our president would be doing in May 22nd and 23rd would be saying, I want to be able just to follow the law.
Abiding the law, imagine that.
Well, he says, one thing he said over it, we're a nation of laws, and he's for that. So we're looking, and God said to Pastor John Kilpatrick, you just heard, the whole reason why that God put President Trump into office was so that he would give him generals so that he can make sure that nobody can push Israel out of their land.
Yeah.
That's exciting.
It's very exciting. I mean, when you think about it, the last 8 years of the previous administration, it seemed as if everything was designed in the Middle East to almost push Israel out.
Yeah. Bipolar opposite.
You are correct with this Iranian deal, giving them the ability to do the enrichment for this nuclear bomb potentially, as well as billions, I believe, of dollars, hundreds of billions, cash.
Yeah.
Who does that?
Right.
Not someone that's favorable. Not favorable towards Israel.
It befriended and gave reportedly the Iron Curtain to the Iron Wall missiles to Turkey, which is now basically has a dictatorship because they voted out their own. This is important to remember. When Hitler got into power, he was voted in by the people. They liked what he was saying. And so it's not unusual for people to say, when God's going, listen, I want you to have Samuel. I'll talk directly to him. He'll tell you what I'm saying, and everything's going to be fine. It's not unusual for people to say, we want a king like them. We want to be like them.
Yeah.
Israel did that, and men have always done that if we turn away from God. And God finally said, you're not rejecting, you're not rejecting Samuel, you're rejecting me. Give them what they want. And Turkey just voted in, and he pushed for a long time, but they voted in this dictatorship. Well, we got to be very careful in America that we have a lot of people that are proclaiming things. If that got fulfilled, it would be the end of us. I don't know if it's going to end and go to the end of the program right here, but these are exciting days. What will actually sustain us is standing with Israel, acknowledging God, holding our borders, going back to our Constitution, and as Christians in America is to turn back to God. If my people who are called by my name will humble themselves and pray and turn from their wicked ways, then I'll hear from heaven and heal their land. Thank you for watching VFNtv. If you like this video, give us a thumbs up. Also, if you want to see more videos like this, subscribe. A lot of people want to abide with the Lord, but they just don't have a plan to do it. You can request that plan today at iabide.org. Don't forget you can join us 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Download our app and sign up for our newsletter, The Torch, at VFNtv.com.